Day and Happy New Year. We're really excited to kick off 2021 with this live trade show. I got a room full of my technical engineer experts, my race car driving buddies, and factory sport pilots from all over to figure it out. So we're really excited. We've been planning this for a couple weeks now, and see how it goes. We're going to talk about all new products for 2021. And built on college force machines and software and all the technical stuff. So this is a live atmosphere. So forgive us if there's any mishaps with staging events and that kind of thing, but it's going to be on the fly. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're glad you joined us here on this Saturday afternoon. We're doing this mainly because of what Bob and I have been doing on the Monday nights, doing the tech tip deal. So big shout out to Bob for everything that he's done, teaching us how to do this live deal and getting this thing rolling. School coming up here in January, so if you're looking to step with your program for 2021, make sure you go to racetechinfo.com and check out the chassis school. After this, we would like the questions to just be primarily about Wehrs machine products and fit and function. Some of the drivers won't really necessarily need to talk about how they finish up their year. We just want to know how they use the products and everything like that. So try to keep the questions relative to the Wehrs machine product line. And we'll take a break into a pot. Can you hear me? Audio is just started. Audio not working. Audio. Sounds not audio. We're already having trouble. And it worked so good the other day. Right. Are they watching me on the phone?
Yeah, they can't hear you.
They can't.
Tap the mic. Should be good.
It's hot. Jesus.
Yeah.
What? Continue. All right. Jesus. So there we go. Okay. Anyway, this is a live event, so there's going to be some things on the fly that are going to happen like that. Mm-hmm. So it is what it is. But anyway, we're looking forward to 2021. We want to get together in the trade show industry, bring in our race car friends and chassis builders and our technical engineers from around the country to help us make the greatest products in the racing industry for you. So we'll roll through Wehrs machines and all right. Well, here we go. Oh, Tim. Yeah, we're supposed to know.
On again.
The light on the right is on the right.
There's a green one.
You want it in the middle one or a little? Yeah, it's something most us again.
Yeah. Got thumbs up. Better.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, it's just go.
Well, we don't usually look through it and go through that. We'll start with because we do a lot of broadcasts for the first time. So we're gonna we getting your comments?
So getting better.
Still good? Roll? Okay. So we're going to go through the new product section, starting from the top. We're going to talk about our spring bar for 2021. We've always built the spring bar. We just never really offered it as a setup. So we're going to build an output progressive or an output progressive. Spring bar payment, you can talk a little bit about the type of meter. No. Can you hear me? Is it supposed to be on the middle or the end one? How about that? Still in the store. Not plugged into the Wi-Fi?
It looks better.
Or is this thing screwed up?
Yeah, it sounds off on the computer, so it shouldn't be picking up any distortion or anything, or any feedback.
Away from it a little bit once, just see what happens.
Can you hear it now?
I'm getting good levels.
Can you hear us in there? The other room? Keep going. We're good to go. Okay. All right, Dave, here we are. How's that? Okay, so here's our new spring bar. I don't know what we missed and didn't get there, but so we're going to offer our spring bar put together with an AFCO or an IBOC progressive. We like the progressive spring. We're putting our pucks in there with a Belleville separator. A lot of tunability. We got a 5-inch OD Torrington bearing on there. We're going to send them out with the preload at a quarter or a half. We'll give you a dyno sheet for both. Dave, I know you run primarily springs in your Wissota style car. Tell us what you like about the spring bar and the adjustability in it.
So one of the biggest things I like about it is, the guys that run the pucks, you're changing them a lot. And, we seem to get about 15 nights out of a spring before we change them. And I don't think you even have to change them that often, but it's a cheap part to change out on a race car. So
That's when you talk springs and taking abuse, I mean, that pull bar is traveling twice a lap. So it's one of the most abused parts on the race car.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's just more consistent to me. Even since we've gotten our Ultraforce machine, we're able to repeat a lot more consistently from night to night, where the pucks seem to, the first night is the best it is. You should probably be changing pucks out every night, but that gets really expensive if you're spending $120 a night on pucks. So it seems like a lot better deal to me.
What about a lot of the guys that we have in IMCA cars, the spring bar has a big decel. So do you run a 90-10 on your car to control that?
Yep. You'd call it a dampener shock. A lot of guys are running 90-10, but a 9 valve seems a little high. But that controls the spring when you get off the gas a lot more when you got a dampener shock on the top. I've seen guys run without it and run really good, but I didn't like the feel of it. It didn't feel good at all without the dampener shock on there.
Cool. Well, do we got any questions on that so far? Or we good to go? We'll roll on to the next one. Another new product for 2021, we made a steel hood pin. So we've been making our flanged hood pins for a few years now, and occasionally on a dirt car when you go into turn 1 and you get a huge clump of mud and it goes up there and rips that aluminum pin off. So we made a nice steel flanged hood pin for 2021, a nice addition to our hood pin lineup. Also to go along with that, we make a
a new product is our hood pin locator. So what we did here, this is a tool that Steve Carlson showed me probably 20 years ago when I was working on race cars, and I never really thought it was a viable product to sell, but we had some other guys asking for it, so we decided to put a cool little tool together there for when you build your hood and it comes down over it. Normally you would just smack that pin and locate that hood pin where you got to drill the hole, but this is a nice little quick tool that goes in, slips over the pin, and then has a hole on the top where you can mark it, spot it with a drill, or use your Sharpie marker to locate the center of that hood pin. Just a real nice quick tool for doing that when you're building your bodies. We'll stay on the hood pin stuff. A lot of new features with the body stuff and the sheet metal tools. And these are a couple little body mount pieces that we are making for 2021. This is one is a flange style that bolts with a 1/4 from the back, so you can put that on different panels or angle irons or whatever when you want to fasten a body panel to it with a hood pin. And then the other version has a thread on it, so you would drill a hole and it would go through the panel, and then you'd have the nut on the back. So just a couple quick different options that some of the chassis builders use that they wanted us to make. So we've been rolling on those for a little bit here. Those are new for 2021. What do you think of that, Billy?
I really like it. Where I find it's very, very nifty is, with the modifieds and late models, we're trying to make that hood so wide to try to capture all that air that we're going to these 3-piece hoods. So it makes it really nice to have a nice flush hood pin mount to be able to stick there in the very ends to keep the sides of the hoods from flapping or falling down. Well, we don't really have anything to put a big hood pin in. So it's really nice just to make a little 2-inch riser out of some aluminum and then put this flush mount hood pin on. It makes it look clean and gives it security, so you don't have a Zeus clip or something more rigid.
Awesome. One of our new cool tools, and the kid that came to us with the idea, his name is Cool. So thank you, Austin Cool, for the idea, the cool idea for the cool tool. So we wanted to make a tool that would kind of push seals in, push the cage bearings in. So Austin kind of came to us with that idea, and then we kind of just looked at all the parts of the car, like where do we need to push a seal in? Where do we need to put a bearing in? So we came up with this cool tool to push your cage bearings in to your suspension cages. It also does the seal for your pinion mount. So there's a nice little lip to capture that when you're pushing your pinion seals in your pinion mounts. And then on the tranny, it also has the cutout in here, so your tail shaft goes inside of there when you're putting the transmission seals in. And then your hub bearings also, or your hub seals also. So this tool covers just about every seal and bearing install on your race car, all in one trick little tool. What's next, Billy?
We got the ball joint remover here.
We got all kinds of props under here to move around, so you're just going to have to bear with us. We were going to have Cam running in and out with products, but that didn't seem like a great idea. Where's the spindle checker?
Right there.
Okay, so this is our new ball joint remover for the Speedway spindles. We have our standard ball joint removers for the standard spindles, but the Speedway one was a little bit difficult because of this. They have the bolt-on steering arm there, so we had to neck this guy down to miss that steering arm. So this has a shoulder on here to go around that steering arm so that still functions properly to knock your ball joints out. So just make life a lot easier. Instead of beating that spindle to get the ball joint out, you just put pressure on this, and once you get the pressure on there, then you just tap the spindle and it pops right out. So just a really cool tool for the Speedway spindles. While we're on spindles, we'll talk about our spindle checker. This is a year-old part, not a new product, but since we got the spindle out, we're going to cross your rate now. So as most of you have seen this screws on your top ball joint stud and then goes down and points at the lower stud. So if you get contact during the heat race, during the B main, you can screw that on the race car in seconds and know if you have a bent spindle, a bent ball joint, or you need to work on your car and get your suspension fixed. So just another trick little tool that goes in there. We were using this for also a quick little caster reference. But after further review, that is not the proper way to check caster. And what happens, what we figured out there is, we were using these little magnetic stick-on pieces. We put a flat on here for that. So, but turns out when that is at multiple angles, this tool has a gyro. So you would have to square this up with the world for that to read right. So we do not recommend checking your caster that way anymore. Billy, you got anything to add on that?
No, you covered it pretty well.
Awesome. What's next?
We have Stagger Stick.
Stagger Stick is next. We've showed the Stagger Stick a few times on Bob and Chad. This is Dan Fredrickson came to us with an idea and asked if we had a measuring device. He said, can we take that tool and measure staggers? So I sent a text to my buddy Dave Goulden from Gravitational Technologies here, who makes most of our cool stuff. And I said, hey, is it possible to make a stagger stick to do the calculation for circumference? And he said, of course we can do that. So this is the new stagger stick, and we've already made it better. So we now we can measure one tire, hold it, and then go measure the other tire and hold that one, and have a live. I feel like I should be. You get that better, or should I come closer? I feel like I should come closer. You good shot of that?
Oh yeah.
So Steve, you've used this on your Saturday night car. Just tell us how easy it is to measure them tires and check the stagger.
Sure, especially when it comes to a 15-minute practice session when you guys are in a hurry. You come in, the tire guy can do it all. He can, you don't have to jack up the car or anything to do this, so if the guy's trying to get tire temps also, you're not interfering with that, but get your right rear, left rear, store the data. If you don't like it, you can adjust real easily with air pressures, and especially going qualifying, right before you send your driver out to qualify, you can get this right on the grid, right before he goes out and have the exact stagger. So really fast in the pits, saves the measurement from the tires. So you send your driver back out, you can just go write it down, then you have that in your notebook. So it works great.
So Dave, these new touchscreens, these are the same touchscreens that we're using on our new dual stick. We're going to implement this, and these are a pretty cool piece that you found there. So
yeah, when Chad called and asked about doing something like this, we looked at a couple different options. In fact, some of the first prototypes were not a touchscreen. Eliminates the need of some of the buttons on there. It looks a lot cooler, and then it gives us a ton more flexibility as to what we can do. This is actually like the second iteration of the software that we've got in here. Yeah. The first one was just storing and doing the one tire. And the second one was live all the time. We added the capability of storing the second tire. Now you can keep them both stored, set it down, bring it back, right down the stagger result.
And that's huge when you have a right rear picked out. You got your right rear, and then you got 3 left rear options, right? Yep. And you want to measure this left rear, you got 1.25 inches. You measure this left rear, you got 1.5 inches. And then you measure your third one, and you got 1.75 inches, and that's your one you wanted. So you can measure them and go through the sequence and still have a live stick, so you can remember what that previous tire was, and then pick the optimal stagger for that event. So just a very cool tool. Dan Fredrickson, WM36 there, right after his number. So we did file a patent on that one because Dave has some pretty cool technology in there, and we want to protect that. And we're really excited about that. We do have an asphalt rendition coming that will have a roller on one end. So with the stickiness of the asphalt tires, you experienced that they're just a little bit sticky with the flats on there. The dirt cars with the dirt on the tire doesn't seem to affect it as much. So we'll have a roller coming here shortly. Billy just got that all designed up. So we'll have that really soon. And then we got Dave just completed the design for the, so this one will go sprint car tire to basically every car. And we did one now that'll do midgets. Yep. So it'll do the range of midget tires, and then the micro sprint kind of level of stuff. And then the last one we're doing is the go-karts, so the flat carts. So we're just getting all the tire sizes for all the vehicles dialed in so that we can have a stick to cover all the racing groups that we service.
Don't see any questions there.
This is our new, well, not new. We've been making these for a couple years for some chassis builders. Would a chassis builder use that? No. We've been making these for engine builders. That's the on-the-fly stuff. But these are a cool little part that we've been making for the risers. When you run the AN lines on the top, so we got them for a 16 or a 20. We just finally remembered to put them in the catalog after like 3 or 4 years. So these are available. You're supposed to be one ahead of me, Billy.
Sorry, sir.
So this is a Rochester carburetor hat for the Rochester hobby stock guys. I was unaware that there wasn't one on the market. We had a couple guys ask us to build them. So this is the new 2-barrel carb hat for the Rochester carb guys. Is it T-bar time?
It's T-bar time.
All right. Is this one yours?
No.
This is our new T-bar. We debuted this a couple weeks ago on Bob and Chad. We're really excited about it, right, Jared? Jared's doing cartwheels in the back of the room. So this all started out with the Wyatt bikes. So we build these bicycles right here in Bangor, Wisconsin too, and we were getting the tubing to build them frames that I was unhappy with. So I had a extrusion die made in Iowa for that tube size for the bicycles. And then we were looking at it one day and we said, what else can we use this for? And T-bar came to mind. So here we are a couple weeks later with a whole bunch of different options for a neat modular T-bar that one, Justin can maybe talk about shipping a T-bar from Iowa to California and how long are they? 6 foot, 66 inches roughly. Yeah. I mean, so this thing, we can collapse this down into a 40-inch box or a 3-foot box and ship it around the world, and it's modular. And how many different T-bars do you have?
I think we have 3 different styles over the years so far, yeah.
So there's maybe 1 or 2 you would eliminate and just say, just put the modular one on so you don't have to build a custom one to fit a rule, or if you want to cheat your body somehow compared to your standard one, or if you want to move it around or whatever. So the modularness of this is the cool part. And we have, of course, some different options that we've come up with. We got this all done, and then we were talking about how are we going to fasten the rear panel.
Yep.
For the IMCA cars that run the rear panel. So I don't know if you got a good shot of that landing. We can probably turn that around. But we got these trick brackets here that'll go on, and they got a bunch of different holes in there. Every car is different for the angle. I don't know if you know what your angle is. We just kind of rigged this up a little bit, but there ain't 2 cars built the same, right, on a rear T-bar. No. Also, the coolness of the modularity, so that you can, fit it to any race car. But that's what the holes are here. So you can put that pin and locate that. And then we also have the guys that run the fuel door on the top. This is just a nice little hood pin mount for the top fuel door. Do you run that on your car?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So that's another option there. So we're slowly building all the coolness of this, where we can keep adding different components. We have a gusset tube also that would work to gusset the left to right, top to bottom, however you would stabilize the middle of that. So these come with a longer piece of tube than that, obviously. This is for show.
Then we have 2 styles. Either comes with the 411s for the adjustability, or it comes with the fixed ends.
Yeah, so you can get just pieces of material too. I mean, this stuff is really, it's 3/4 by 1. So, I mean, you could build this for your middle T-bar, your front T-bar. It's really nice, lightweight, stronger probably than angle iron. So just another option to accessorize your car. One thing, how did that go putting that on? You put the pieces on first, then you measure the center to center to get the length?
Yeah, when you put it together, you're going to want to build your uprights first. And then you're going to take your measurement from, turn it here, take your measurement from here to here at the end of the clevises here. If you just take your center measurement, it's going to be off. What's really nice is there is a little bit of wiggle room within the adjuster itself. So if you do, miss it by a 1/4 inch or so, there's enough to compensation there that it'll still look really nice. But yeah, definitely build your uprights first and then take your measurement.
Pretty cool piece for 2021. We're excited about that. Oh, yeah.
And then we also, for the 411s and also for just the fixed ends, we made a little jig. Sometimes it's a little tricky to locate holes. So all you do is just simply slide it onto your piece of T-bar there. We have the one set of holes there. That's for the 411s. And then we have the side here that you just drill it to the side. And then that is so you can put onto the clevis or the other side of the clevis.
That tells you where you need to drill your holes in your tube once you get your tube length established.
Yep. So you're not trying to use a tape measure. But yeah, it turned out sweet.
Any questions on that one? No? We're good? We're rolling? Everybody can hear us?
Looks like audio is still good. Everything's good. And
Awesome.
it's nice if you crash the racetrack and you hit that right rear.
Yep.
That's the whole part of it is that,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully the center would stay intact and you just take that end piece of aluminum off and whatever you have for your sheet metal gusset or whatever you build for your right rear stabilizer and just fix that portion of the T-bar and go back out.
So one bolt and handful of rivets and back on the track.
Exactly. It'll be really handy at Bristol for everybody that's going there.
This is a new part for 2021 for the asphalt guys. This is a bolt-on trailing arm bracket. We got them with the climber going either direction, so you can put it on the left rear or right rear. We have a spacing of 4 inches here, and then you can do a 1 inch adjustment up and down, and the range of that is 3 1/4. Mr. Miller, our resident asphalt / dirt expert, what's your thoughts on this new trailing arm bracket?
Well, what's nice is you have that kind of adjustment up and down, back and forth, and it only changes your rear end square. If you actually, people are going to say, well, how much is that going to change the square on my rear end if I go up and down that far? At the most, it's going to change it at 1/8 of an inch. So what you do is you measure ahead of time. You know, you go in quarter or half inch increments, whatever you want to do, and just log that down in your book and just see how much you have to change the squareness of your rear end. To be able to go in there with one wrench and adjust that, it's so fast and easy. You just put, like the old school guys, you know, if you want per se, you go to the track with 2 degrees, okay? And then you just put a little circle marker on your washer here. If you want to change that to a degree and a half, you just wheel her up to 1.5 degrees, like so. And away you go, lock her down, and you're ready to rock and roll. Great idea.
Yeah, trick little piece. Eddie Holmes brought that to me. He
he?
had one that was not really a climber style, so he said, I want this a little bit cooler. And
They had some out for years that were not climbers, and now that this is out, yeah, you can bet the new 89 car will have all these.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. You can carry that off set, then it's out of the way.
I'll take her away.
Great to have you here, buddy. Brad Miller, ladies and gentlemen. Are we going spring cupping?
We are going spring cupping.
Cool. We've
We did have one question. Yeah, they asked if the T-bar works on asphalt cars.
Steve, do you got the T-bar on your asphalt car yet?
I will. As soon as I get the body covered.
Yes, the T-bar, pretty much the modularity of it is what's cool. So you wouldn't necessarily probably put the adjusters on the asphalt car, would you guys, or would you? Yeah. So the audience is split. The superstars are split. So you can do it. I mean, if you got, all you need is basically a tab up off the rear of the frame rail, and then you can put the adjusters on there or not. We didn't say that the non-adjustable, you got that one, give me the little strut, just a little strut support. So if you don't want the adjustability, you simply put the end on that doesn't have the 411 on it, which is this guy here. So that would just be a rigid mount. So if you get the non-adjustable T-bar, it comes with this on the bottom, and then you can build your deck up off of that just at a fixed position, or you could put the 411s on there to have the adjustability. So either way, it don't know if it's on an asphalt or dirt car. You can pretty much put this stuff wherever. I mean, if you wanted to brace your body with this lightweight aluminum tube, you could do that too. So like I said, it's an evolution with that part to see how many cool things we can come up with this new tube. So
It'll definitely grow. I think it's spring cup time.
spring cups. So the OD grab spring cups is kind of what we've been working on the last, I don't know when we do the slider, probably a year ago, roughly a year ago. We did the slider and then the coilover kit, and then we've evolved now to the front spring cups and then the sport mod rear cups. So with the lighter spring rates and the trends in the industry, whatnot, just grabbing the OD, which is a 5-inch nominal number, and having that spring be lined up in the force line better is a way better system. So The OD grab allows us to keep that spring lined up, but then it also allows us to put a 5-inch Torrington bearing on that spring. So as a spring travels, it twists. So spring twist essentially would cause bind and change the rate. So we're trying to eliminate spring bind, which then is spring bow, and just have a happier overall system. So we do have almost all of them done except the 5.5s, right? So this is the new 5-inch drop cup. We do have the 404s are coming back, and then we'll get to the 5.5 OD stuff, right? So they're at the plater. So we will have every spring cup that we make an OD grab here in the next week or so. So just kind of an evolution of the product line again, going to the OD grab stuff. Has anybody had them? You got them on anything you got?
Never had them on the front.
Yeah, so when we bring the Ultraforce machines in after the break, we're gonna have a break at 2. We'll bring the Ultraforce machines, and we got a couple spring assemblies that we're gonna smash with and without the Torrington bearing and show you the difference there and the really the essentialness behind it. So we have a question?
Yeah. Is that cup IMC legal?
Yes.
And then someone asked about the 5.5 cup. And when is the 5-inch OD drop cup available for purchase?
They're on the shelf right now. They're on the website actually, ready to go right now. So if you want to purchase them today, you can purchase them on wehrsmachine.com.
Can you please explain again the advantage of the outside grab?
So as we should have grabbed a spring that was loose.
Yes, there's one behind that shelf there.
So the spring manufacturers, yeah, here we go. Awesome. Perfect. The cool part about being at headquarters is we can just go grab cool stuff off the shelf whenever.
Yep, absolutely.
So this is a pull bar spring, but all the springs are a 5-inch OD nominal. So when you change the rate, the 5-inch OD, did I say OD already? OD nominal, when you change the rate, the ID changes. And then if we have an old cup, slip that old cup off that display there. So when you change the wire diameter and change the rate, the ID gets larger and then the cup moves around. So we could potentially show this. So we put this in here, it moves left to right. We got that in the frame good?
Yep.
So you see the sloppiness in there when you have a cup that's going off the ID instead of the OD. And then when you put the OD cup on there, it doesn't move around nearly as much. This is a pull bar spring, not quite as perfect as a normal front cup spring or a 5-inch rear. The pull bar springs tend to have a little bit more variance in the diameter on the OD because it's such a large rate. But for the front springs, if we had a good front spring here, it would be lined up perfectly. Yeah, well, that's in there. We can't really show that, but anyway, that's when we're grabbing the OD, we have a lot less clearance on the OD, and everything just stays lined up better through travel.
John asked, do you lube the Torrington bearings?
So the Torrington bearings, I would lube them, and that's why we made the shield. So we were putting the Torrington bearing in the exposed ones, and then the dirt just kills them. But having this shield around it will protect it. Obviously, when you're racing dirt cars, there's dirt going up in there. We have a couple customers that are using a graphite spray. That stuff doesn't attract the dirt, right? As bad as like a grease or an oil would. So I would maybe look at the graphite spray, or I don't even know if there's a Teflon spray of some sort possibly out there, but you do have to put some sort of lube on there, and it is a maintenance item. So, I mean, you're going to be cleaning the standard swivel ball pretty much weekly and putting a little spray grease in there. These probably need to come out every 4 or 5 races and be serviced just to make sure that everything's functioning properly. And we had one issue where a customer had the bearing on the bottom, on the rear of his slider. Well, in the new OD cups, they retain water. So when you're washing your car, if you don't blow the water out of there after you wash it, then you're going to have rust and an issue. So we recommend that Torrington bearing be on the top of the spring, whether it's on the front or the rear of the race car.
Ted asked, is running the Torrington bearing IMC legal as well?
Correct. Yes.
And got a question, is the drop cut pivot or is it fixed?
Pivots.
Does the
Drop.
Sorry, go ahead.
Length of the cup.
The length of it.
No, the cups, for the left fronts.
Oh, so we have, yeah. So we have, this is our 485S. This is our standard short cup. So the lip on this is 1 inch. We don't have a tall out here. We have a tall on our display over there. So we have a 2-inch lip for a left front, where if you would come off the spring slightly, you'd have a little bit more to keep you lined up there. You know, and if you're coming off the left front spring, you probably don't want to run the 5-inch Torrington bearing on the left front, just because it could get screwed up in there under travel. So if you're coming off the left front, it's not as essential to have the 5-inch Torrington bearing on the left front as it is the right front, because you're getting so much travel and load there on the right front. So it's more essential there. The drop cup, this is our 2.5-inch drop bearing. Same thing. That's only going to come with a 1-inch lip.
I get a lot of questions. Would you recommend something like that on the rear end of like an IMCA stock car or something like that, or do you think just the standard is better?
So on the rear, maybe Justin can talk about spring cup choice on the rear stock car. Seifert, what'd you have on that stock car of yours? Sport mods have to have a rigid cup. Stock cars can run a swivel cup. I like them on the rear end side. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, the swivel cup's great. The drop cup's good. It helps keep the taller springs in line. It keeps the spring bow out of it as much. You got to watch on the rear end side. It's great, but you got to make sure your springs are staying in line together. Otherwise, you do just get bow with the cup twisting, and that's something everybody needs to pay attention to just for performance. It's going to help them in the end.
Yeah, for sure. We don't recommend running 2 bearings though, right? A bearing cup on the bottom and a bearing cup on the top. Then they would just both go one direction, and then that would cause tremendous spring bows. So
Correct. And on an IMCA stock car, I believe this cup has to be welded to the housing anyway. So run them on the top side, and the drop cup works really good for that, because with the light spring rates that the trend is right now, that helps, just like I said earlier, keep the bow out and keep the spring more consistent.
right on.
If a driver was to switch to this OD style, we got a question here asking, does that affect the spring rate at all?
I wouldn't say it affects the spring rate as much, but if you added a bearing, the spring, it probably will, and we'll show you that earlier or later on here with the machines.
Maybe our engineers could tell us if the spring is stiffer or softer if it's got the bearing.
It should act a little bit stiffer because you have reduced that bow,
Yeah.
where you would get force or energy.
Information. And then we've got a question of how long until you think we'll have the 5.5s available?
The 5.5s are at the platers, so they should be back in the next week.
Yeah, I think that's it for
We're
questions.
caught up. Okay, cool. Props. So a couple years ago, we came out with this 326 metric trailing arm bolt for the stock metric frames. So most of you know that bolt goes inside the frame rail. So getting in there with your socket, generally you lose that inside the stub. So we made this guy come outside the frame. A really cool Stefan Sabi's my idea. And then my buddy Paul Berger took it to the next level. So he said, I want that same bolt for the front for the idle arm. So we came out with the Chevelle and metric stub idle arm bolt, and that just slides the hex outside the frame rail so you can get on it. You don't have to go inside the frame rail and lose your socket. It's a real nice trick bolt for, I think you put them on your brother's car.
Yeah, we did. The only thing about them though is it's a 1/2-inch bolt, so you will have to open up the frame and the idler arm a little bit.
Yeah.
But you should probably do that anyways and not rely on a little
I think-
3/8 bolt.
A lot of people do drill it out, and some guys weld a nut in the frame side, some guys don't. So they are a 1/2-inch 13 thread, so you will have to drill it out just like you do on the rears. They're grade 5.
See any questions? Will they work on the Camaro front stub?
Ooh. Didn't expect that. Anybody know the Camaro and the Chevelle are just about twins, ain't they?
Yeah.
So it should work on a Camaro. We'll ship them to you if you want. If they don't work, you can send them back for free. So we'll give you your money back if they don't work.
Right now we are on to The breathers.
Breathers. Do we have all the breathers up here? We're going to cover them all at the same time.
Here you have one right there.
So we've been making the different breathers. We make a 4AN male that we've been doing our tranny and rear end breather for years. Then we did our female one to go on top of the fuel cell, just a cool -6 and -8 AN fuel cell breather for the fuel cell. And then we had some guys that wanted a male version. So for 2021, we released our males, which is a 6 AN and an 8 AN male. So then if you're running a line up off of the rear end, you can just screw that right in there and not have to have a male-to-male union to work on our female one. So just a nice little evolution of the breather line there. And if some guys run a fuel cell breather out to the back of the car, so then you can run that one there too. So just another addition to the breather line, pretty easy there.
Or bolt it right onto the fuel cell itself with the -8.
Yeah, the female would go right on top of the fuel cell. So
See if we have any questions on it. Doesn't appear so. We're to Screwdriver. 465.
So our old buddy Paul Berger wanted an adjustable shock mount for his stock car. So this is our swivel mount. We've been doing this for a couple years for the beat build cars, but this is our new one where it comes with a steel slug, so you can weld that into your right front corner or left front corner. You can even put it on the rear for just a shock mount only. Just a nice adjustable, get your shock mount in the right spot so you can get max travel out of the shock.
Yeah, they're especially nice on the front end if you're just trying to use like an adjustable shock mount. You don't have to have a big 1-inch coarse thread jack bolt, and that's super long. And you can you can cut this down so you can figure out where your starting point is, and then give yourself an inch so you can keep it underneath the hood, and just better packaging.
We do have the 1.1 one for the late models that has a bigger thread for when you're going to do a coilover atmosphere where you got spring loads too. So we make a couple different options there for that. So for 2021, we got a bunch of new sheet metal tools that we have been working on through the years for building different pieces of interior tin and body work and that kind of stuff. And we want to bring all the sheet metal tools out. We'll talk about the audio's bad again.
Yeah, it's getting really distorted.
Me? I'm distorted?
Because we're cutting in and out, and the audio is getting really bad.
Somebody on the Wi-Fi? They're off, ain't they?
And it says
Turn both off.
we're lagging.
You were playing outside and it started getting dark.
Yeah, you can see it on our end too.
Yeah, that's way back out. Shut that.
No internet?
Turn off that light.
It turned the light off.
When you unplug the
Shut
shut the
that.
WR1 off.
That Ethernet is plugged in, correct? In the back room. Are we still lagging?
Yeah, lagging. I don't know why I did that.
This one's like red. Are we back? Is it better? We want to just make sure that Ethernet. Can you hear us now? Are we good? Up to 4. Are we better? We rolling? We need you guys' help to know what's going on.
Yeah, definitely leave a comment if there's something wrong with us now.
You want to get rid of this guy? Because this guy is screwed up here. Well, we need it for questions, but they can howl the questions out.
says our picture is better now, but the audio still is issues. I was like mostly conscious of the audio and the picture. I mean, it's right by my face. You would think it would work. Is it better? I need to break it. Got it wrong. We're still out. Are we good? It's still audio bad. I'm talking back live. How's that? Drop comments. Let us know how we're doing here. Are we good? Is it all? Just give us clear audio. Audio's bad. You're right. Yeah, Mr. White's is drinking his beer. Choppy.
Do they have any audio?
This is our crew center, this is our travel.
Yep.
Shorter, so there's a little light on.
Yep, it's just a little light, whether it gets longer or shorter, and it tells you whether you're in compression or tension, so that you don't get these negative numbers.
Right.
Negative, so that you're compression or tension, or you're in compression, if you go more compression than your set point, or less compression. If it's tension, if you go more tension or less.
It's good.
tension. These are just some of the little nuances of.
Go back lot.
We don't have the internet.
All they said is good, so.
Oh, yeah, they're picking up the inside conversation. Are we good?
Just not talk loud.
Yeah.
You want to go to the load machine? Okay.
So we changed the set over here. Can you hear me from over here? We need some comments if you can hear us. We're sorry about the technical difficulties. As you know, we're live, so we're not professionals at this by no means, but we're having fun doing it. We hope you're having fun. Everybody got a chance to go take a break. Are we good? Good audio? We got it? Loud? Loud and clear? Okay. We want to go back to the sheet metal tools real fast? Okay. Yeah, let's bang them out. That'll take us 2 seconds. So for 2021, we made these cool sheet metal tools, different trick pieces here. So when you're making your sheet metal, we got these cool little adapters here. So when you're going to do a fold and you want to cut that notch out, this will draw that notch on that corner for you real fast with your Sharpie. We have one that when you're going to do a hem roll, you put it on there to cut the 45 off. And then we got another one that goes on there to draw the radius on the corner. There's some really cool sheet metal tools. And then we also have one that'll draw lines at 1 inch, 3/4, 1.25 and 1/2. You just put your Sharpie in there and roll it across the sheet. Gives you a nice straight line when you're going to do a bend or a fold. One of our popular tools, very popular tool for us over the years, has been our interior tin notchers for going around the tubes. So we got these for 1 inch, 1.25 inch, 1.5 and 1 3/4 tubes. These make a burr-free, very nice notch to fit your tube exactly like it should. Still no audio?
Just keep going.
Keep
It's
going.
just an internet deal.
We do have everything out the internet, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Bad?
It's got sound, now you're missing the picture. It's getting all fuzzy.
So this is our, huh?
I can hear you.
This is our sheet metal notcher tool we've had out for a couple years just for doing different, we want to curve the piece of sheet metal, so just a real nice quick little notcher there. This is actually a double fold, so I'll do that thick stuff with very minimal effort. Do we want to roll into the Ultra Forces if we got bad video, or we? It's the most important thing. So how can we have bad internet if nothing's on? You want to shut the broadcast down and turn it back on real fast? Can you do that? Start over. I mean, we have nothing on. I don't know why it's so bad. But. Yeah, well, we're going to reboot our router and reset the program, so just bear with us here as we try and figure out how to get through this. We're going to shut our internet off quick, reboot the router, and see if we can come back in 5 and have everything fixed. And we're sorry.